Hello and welcome to week 5 of our cook along. We're definitely getting through the weeks here. So today originally when I was planning the course, I was just going to do one recipe, and that was cheese and courgette muffins. So it's kind of like healthy snacks, but also could obviously be a nice lunch or whatever. But when I was reading one of the questionnaires that one of you had filled in, you said lunch ideas because you struggle with lunch ideas. So I thought that I would add another recipe in, which was one of my wee girl's favourite lunches. Not anymore, she's gone off them, but you can try them with your wee ones. And I'm hoping she comes back to them. So the second recipe we're making is courgette and sweet corn fritters. And both of the recipes are super easy. You just chuck everything in a bowl, mix it together. And then with the muffins, obviously, bake them in the oven, and with the fritters, you just fry them in the pan. Okay, so let's get started. And as always, same thing applies. If you've got long hair, tie it back. If you've got an apron, put it on. Make sure your cooking station is nice and clean, and then we'll just wash our hands. Okay, so both of these recipes involve flour, so the muffins and the fritters. It's up to you what kind of flour you use. The recipe just says flour. You can use plain flour, so white flour, or you could also use wholemeal flour. I've got some wholemeal flour for the muffins, so I'm going to make them with wholemeal flour. If you wanted, you could use a mix of both. So wholemeal flour has more fibre in it and more nutrients, because what they do with white flour is basically they strip away the husk of the wheat plant, and that's got all the fibre and the nutrients in it. So really wholemeal flour is a nice healthy option, but it's totally up to you. You decide and see. Your wee one might really like the wholemeal flour. They might not even notice the difference. So yeah, have a go with the different types of flour. Okay, so for the cheese and courgette muffins, we're going to be using flour of your choice, and then some baking powder, which is obviously a raising agent. We're going to be using some oil, and again, whatever vegetable oil you've got is fine. Some rosemary or mixed dried herbs, so I've just got the same mixed herbs that I used for our lentil soup, and also for the pasta. They're very useful, aren't they? Mixed herbs. And then we're going to use an egg and some cheese and a courgette, obviously. And I'm just going to give my courgette a wee rinse. Oh, and before I do that, what we need to do before you start everything is just turn your oven on. So you're going to turn your oven on to, if you've got a fan oven, turn it on to 180 degrees. Or 200 degrees if it's just a regular oven, or gas mark 6 if you've got a gas oven. Okay? So we're just going to be using half a courgette, so I'm just going to cut that in half, and we're going to be using the other half for the fritters. I'm just going to cut the end off there, and then grate it. So I'm just going to coarsely grate the courgette. Go. And then just pop it in your bowl. And then some cheese. So it's about 3 tablespoons of cheese. So I'm just going to cut off a block and half that. See how I go with this much cheese. Might need some more. So this is a nice savoury bake. So obviously when most of us bake muffins or think about muffins, you think about something sweet and sugary, but you can also bake nice savoury things that your wee one will like. And they're really easy to take with you, put in a wee lunchbox if you're out and about or having a picnic. So we need 3 tablespoons of cheese. So I'm just going to grate a wee bit more. There we go. So that's about this much cheese. Pop it in the bowl. And then just pop the rest of the things in. Cheese to the side. So the flour is 6 tablespoons of flour, and you might have measuring spoons. I'm not sure if you've got measuring spoons for the course or if you've got some at home anyway, so you can use measuring spoons. Or for 6 tablespoons, I'm just going to use heaped dessert spoons like that. So I'm going to pop 6 in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we are. And then it's half a teaspoon of baking powder, and again you can just use a regular teaspoon or you could use a measuring spoon, whichever you like. A measuring spoon is more precise, but it's totally fine to use just a regular teaspoon and just fill it up half of it, because we just need half a teaspoon. So I'm going to pop that in. And then it's a pinch of dried rosemary or herbs. So this is a mill, so I'm just going to grind some in. There we go. And then 1 beaten egg. I'm just going to beat the egg with a fork. So 1 egg. And then just whisk it up with a fork. And then we need some milk as well, so I'm just going to grab the milk. So it's 3 tablespoons of milk. 1, 2, 3. So I've just used my measuring spoon for that. And pop your egg in. And then it's 2 tablespoons of oil. I've got rapeseed oil here, which is like your crisp and dry, but you can use whatever oil you've got, any kind of veg oil. So 2 tablespoons of oil. And that's it. If you like, you can add a wee bit of black pepper. Obviously if you've got a really wee one, go easy on it. A wee ground black pepper for some flavour. And that's us. So you've got everything in your bowl. Let me just check. We've got our flour, baking powder, herbs, courgette, cheese, egg, milk and oil. Yeah, everything in. So now you're just going to take a spoon and mix it around until everything is well mixed. these are really great because obviously the ingredients in them, you've got your eggs, so you've got your protein, you've got dairy in it, so you've got your more protein and also calcium. And then you've got your veg in there. And then I've used wholemeal flour, so you've got veg for fibre and vitamins and minerals, and then you've got your wholemeal flour for more fibre and carbs. So they're a really healthy snack. Right, this seems a wee bit, I probably added too much, I was a bit generous with my flour. This is quite a thick mixture, it should be thinner than that, so I'm just going to add a wee bit more milk. So it should be a fairly thick batter, but runny. So mine was pretty stiff. And just a wee splash more, and that'll do it, I think. So if you measure out your tablespoons of flour precisely, then the mixture won't be too dry. It's just because I was too generous with my tablespoons. Right. So that's this kind of consistency you're looking for. So the batter should be wet, but thick. Okay. Right, and then we're just going to pop the mixture into a tray. So I've got my muffin tray here. I've lined mine with cases. You don't have to do that. You could just have it without, but then you'd have to oil the tray first. So just with a wee bit of oil, you can brush it on, or just with a bit of kitchen roll, you could wipe it with some oil, or you can use cases. Up to you. Okay, so I'm just going to spoon the mixture into the cases. And these are actually really lovely to make with your wee ones. So during lockdown, I did quite a bit of baking with my wee girl, and she really liked making this kind of thing because they can put the muffin cases in the tray, and they can spoon the mixture in. It ends up everywhere. It's a total mess, but it doesn't matter. And it's really good to get kids involved in the kitchen because they're more likely to eat what they've made. It's a really good learning process, and yeah, it's really good to expose them to different foods. So even if they don't eat the finished product, it's really good to expose them to things in the kitchen. It means they get used to the feel of things and the smell of things. Right, so you can kind of fill up your cases. I think I've got enough mixture for one more, so I'm just going to pop one more muffin case in. There we go. Sorted. So that's it. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven. Look at the clock. So they need to bake for 10 to 15 minutes. So you want to check them after 10 minutes, and what you do is you just stick a knife in the middle of one muffin, and if the knife comes out pretty much clean, it means the muffins are ready. So they should be sort of golden brown, and that should come out clean. If it comes out with a bit of batter on it, it means they need to bake a wee bit longer, so just give them a few extra minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to tidy this up a wee bit. Okay, so while the muffins are in the oven, we are going to crack on with the courgette and sweet corn fritters. So for the fritters, we are using courgette, obviously, and sweet corn, and then flour. And again, like I said before, you choose what flour you'd like. If you'd like wholemeal or white flour, I'm going to use white flour for these ones, just for a bit of variety. And we're going to be using an egg again, and some milk, and some oil for frying, and paprika. So in this jar here I've got some paprika. Oh, and spring onions as well. So these are great fritters. Again, they're packed full of veg, so lots of vitamins and minerals. They've got egg for protein, they've got a bit of milk for protein and calcium. So yeah, another good option, and really easy, portable to carry about with you for sort of picnic lunches, or if you're out and about, or even for a snack, whatever you prefer. And they're also really nice. I'm going to have them for lunch today. I have them usually with a sort of fried egg or poached egg on top, a couple of fritters with a fried egg or poached egg on top, and that's a really nice lunch. So again, like I said before, eating the same food as your wee one is a really good thing to do for them to see and copy you. So you'll be doing some great role modelling if you're having the same food as them. Okay. What do we need to do? So the courgette's already washed, so I'm just going to give the spring onions a wee wash. Right, so I'm just gonna, and this is the same as the other recipe, bung everything in a bowl and mix it together and then fry the fritters. So fritter is just a posh word for pancakes. It's basically savoury pancakes. Just got to keep an eye on the clock for the muffins, make sure they don't burn. I'm going to chop the spring onions. I'm going to cut the ends off there. And then just slice them really finely, so really tiny little slices. Watch your fingers. I find it easier just to put them next to each other and slice them at the same time. And I mean, these recipes are adaptable, so in the muffins, for example, you could use grated carrot instead of grated courgette. And with these ones, if you find that your wee one doesn't like spring onion, for example, because it's quite a strong flavour, do try them with it, because they might really like it. But if you find that they don't like it, just leave the spring onion out. But my wee girl Eva, yeah, she used to eat so many of these. It was great because it's such a quick recipe. So even if you've only got sort of 10 minutes to make lunch or dinner, that was fine, because you could just whip these up. But like so many things, they go off them, but you just have to have patience and they'll come back to it, I hope. Right, so there's the spring onion chopped up, so I'm just going to pop that in the bowl. This is a small tin of sweet corn. I've drained that already, so I'm just going to pop that in. With tinned veg, you just want to make sure that you buy veg that is just tinned in water. So make sure there's no added salt and sugar, especially with sweet corn, they often add sugar. and with other tinned veg they often add salt, particularly tinned beans and things like that. So you want to just make sure that there's no added salt and sugar. So you just look at the back and look at the ingredients list. Where is it? Can't find this ingredients list on this one. Must be somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. So it's under the grid, the nutrition, the grid that we were looking at the first week. Remember when we were comparing breakfast cereals? So it says ingredients, sweet corn, water, so that's good. Okay, so let's add the rest of the things. So we're adding flour, just 2 tablespoons of flour. 1, 2. 1 teaspoon of paprika. There we go. And don't be afraid to use, I think I said before, don't be afraid to use spices and things with the wee ones, because yeah, it's nice to get different flavours, get them used to different flavours and things. Right, for this recipe actually calls for self-raising flour, but I don't actually have any self-raising flour, so I'm going to add, so this is plain flour, and I'm just going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder. So if you don't have self-raising flour, it's totally fine, just add some baking powder to your plain flour. There we go. And then again, 1 egg beaten, just like the fritters. In fact, I'm going to have to check on the fritters. Hang on a wee sec while I check on the fritters, the muffins. It's almost clean my knife when I took it out, so I'm just going to give them 1 more minute. Don't let me forget. There we go. I'm just going to whisk the egg up again. Pour that in. I'm going to give my hands a wee rinse after touching the egg. I think I mentioned that last week. I've forgotten with the muffins, sorry. Okie dokie. So, and then milk as well. So it's 40 mils of milk. So that's, if you've got your measuring spoon, that's about 3 tablespoons, or you can do it in a measuring jug. Just under 3 tablespoons of milk. And that's it. Again, just mix that up with your wooden spoon or whatever you've got. And it's as easy as that. Okie dokie. Sorted. Just put the milk back in the fridge. So I'm going to take my fritters out now. I mean my muffins. Sorry, I keep saying fritters. Getting confused. So there's the muffins. They've risen nicely. So they're looking nice and golden brown on top, and they smell really good. So obviously you just want to make sure that you cool them down before you serve them. So I'm just going to leave them there for now. Right, turn the oven off, and then, in fact, I'm going to get a mat for the muffins. Put them out the way. Right. So it's about a sort of medium heat for the fritters. You don't want them cooking too fast, because if you have the heat too high, they'll burn on the outside and they won't be cooked on the inside. So you want a lower heat. So about sort of low to medium or medium heat. And then you'll probably need to cook them in a few batches. A bit more oil. It's about a tablespoon of oil per batch, I'd say. Heat the oil for a minute to make sure it's nice and hot. I'll take this away while we're waiting. Right, I think that's nice and hot now. And you can decide basically how big you want the fritters. Sorry, I'm just going to check to make sure I'm still in shot. Oh yeah. There we go. So I've got about three on. I've got three on the go at once. So we're just going to cook them for a few minutes on one side and then flip them over. And again, with the milk that we used for both of the recipes, you can use your full fat cow's milk, or you can use breast milk if you prefer to use that, or formula if your wee one's under a year. Just totally up to you. But from 6 months you can use cow's milk. So just bear that in mind. So the muffins, I'm just going to get one of the muffins. So they're really tasty. I think they're really nice, and they're really good for, you can tear them into bits for your wee one, and they can dunk them in soup. So that's a really nice lunch to have. Soup's a really good thing to make if you're looking for lunch ideas, especially through the winter months, obviously when it's getting a bit cold. And one of my favourite websites actually for recipes that you should have a look at is BBC Good Food. You might know it already. And they've got loads of family recipes and you know, recipes for kids and things. So have a wee look at that, and they'll have lunch ideas and all sorts of things. So yeah, have a look at that. And soup's a really good one to make. It's nice and easy to eat. Just make sure you adjust the stock. So you obviously, like I said in week 2 when we were making the lentil soup, make sure you don't use any stock if your wee one's under 1, and then just make sure you use low salt stock after that. But yeah, these are a really good thing to dunk in soup, so you can tear it into bits and then they can have a great time dunking them into soup instead of bread. But also good just as a wee snack on its own. So I'm just flipping my fritters now. They're quite well fired. Then you cook them for a few minutes on the other side. And another good thing about these recipes is that you can freeze both of them. So you can cook them, and then the muffins and the fritters, you can pop them in the freezer in a sort of airtight container or in a freezer bag or whatever, and they would keep for, you know, up to 3 months, and you just defrost them thoroughly, and then probably best to heat them up again in the oven. You know, it takes 20 minutes or so in a preheated oven, or you could heat them up in the microwave as well once they've defrosted. So up to you, but it's always good to have some stuff in the freezer so you can just take it out when you don't have any time to do any cooking. So what I do sometimes is just put them on a plate with some kitchen towel on it. But I don't have any, I can't get to my kitchen towel or to my plates, so I'm just going to pop them in this baking tray, and then put a wee bit more oil in the pan for the next batch. Right, so I've got another 3. I could say these 3 are a wee bit smaller than the first 3. And another wee word about snacks. So there are lots of things that you can use as healthy snacks, especially if you're out and about and you just want to grab something. Fruit is an obvious one. Fruit's really easy, and from when they're about a year or so, they can have a whole apple and just, you know, munch away at it, depending on how many teeth they've got. But definitely my wee girl, I think the first time I gave her a whole apple, she just ate the whole thing, core and everything, and just left the wee stalk. But she still really likes eating whole apples. Bananas are obviously a great snack on the go. If once they've got teeth and they can chew, then things like veg sticks. But yeah, try not to give your wee one too many of the packet snacks that you get in the supermarket. They don't have much much goodness in them in terms of sort of nutritional value, and it just teaches your wee one that snacks come in bags, so they progress from the, you know, carrot puffs or whatever you're giving them to crisps and things like that. And we want to kind of try and avoid that and make them, you know, there's so many other things that you can give your wee one. Breadsticks are a really good option, especially when they're over a year, because breadsticks can be higher in salt. Oat cakes, so plain oat cakes, they're a really easy thing. Obviously rice cakes and corn cakes, especially you can put almond butter or peanut butter or whatever on those, and that's a really good healthy snack as well. So there's lots of different options that you could use. Right, I've been talking too much and my fritters are on the well-fired side, and they should really be golden brown. Mine are a wee bit darker brown, but that's okay. Adds to the flavour. And then what I usually do for my wee one is just cut the fritters into quarters, or you can cut them into strips, and that's a really good finger food, and they could have them from about 8 months, I'd say. And the same with the muffins from about 8 months. And I think that is probably about it for today's session. I think I've banged on long enough about healthy snacks and flour types and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'll just sign off there with my fritters sizzling away in the background. And yeah, I hope your wee ones enjoy the muffins and the fritters. Let us know. We always like to hear how you get on. And I will see you next week for our very last cook along, which will be sugar-free sweet treats next week. All right. Thanks very much. Good luck and have a good week. Bye.